Good morning to all of you. So let us start the lecture. So let us look at the Poisson process in a more mathematical way. Though I have already done with the Poisson process, and I took one or two examples also. But let us let's look at the Poisson process once again from the mathematical perspective. All right. So the Poisson process is a counting process, right? Whenever there is a counting event involved, counting type of events involved, then we usually model that process as a Poisson process. And whenever there is noise, whenever we are trying to model noise, then we model the noise as Gaussian process. So Poisson process, therefore, so if it is a counting process, I say that it can be modeled as a Poisson process. But let us look at what a counting process is. So let's look at what is a counting process. Counting process means which counts series of events that occur at random points in time. So we have to count the number of series of events that occur at random points of time. Therefore, it is a stochastic process, hence it is a random waveform which is a function of time. So because the events occur at random points in time, so it's a stochastic process, and of course it will be a random waveform which will be a function of time, right? So we generally express, if I say you to express a counting process, we generally write it nt, where t is greater than or equal to 0, represents the number of events that occur by time t. So t is some time variable which is greater than or equal to 0, right? For specific value of t, it means that it represents the number of events that occur by that time t. There are some properties of this Poisson process nt, which are quite obvious also, but let's formally define the properties. So nt is greater than or equal to 0, right? Which means that no event has occurred at time t equal to 0. Nt is integer valued, so events occur at nt is integer valued, right? So if s is some time which is less than t, right? S is less than t, then ns is less than or equal to nt. That means the number of events in time s has to be less than or equal to the number of events in time t, if s is less than t. So that's another property of the Poisson process. Then if s is less than t, and if s is less than t, so s is some time which is less than time t, right? And t, that is the number of events till time t minus number of events till time s. So this number is the number of events that occur in the interval s comma t, right? So s is sometime, t is sometime, t is greater than s, right? So within this time frame, or within this time frame between s and t minus ns will be the number of events that occur, right? So these are some properties, very obvious kind of properties, but sometimes when you model a process, then you need to put the things in mathematical formation. So there you require these kind of properties. The example of a Poisson process can be from the engineering or from the electronics and computer engineers point of view, is the number of, for example, the number of packets coming into a router during internet services, some internet services there, and number of packets coming into the router, or So that is an example of Poisson process. We can model the number of packets coming into a router through this Poisson process, or which the example I earlier took, which is the number of customers entering into a store or restaurant, right? Packet traffic on a network can be modeled as a Poisson process. Now, there are two important characteristics of the assumptions that we need to make during the modeling of the Poisson process. So one is the independent increments. So what do you mean by independent increments? The number of events that occur during disjoint intervals are independent. I mean, if from 0 to T1 and from let's say T3 to T4, these two time intervals are disjoint. All right. So the number of events which occur between 0 to T1 and T2 to T3, they are independent of each other. That's what the meaning of independent increments is. The number of events that occur during disjoint intervals are independent. Another characteristic can be, or the assumption can be, stationary increments. We know till now, by this time, we know what is the meaning of stationary. The number of events that occur in any time interval depends only on the length of that time interval, right? So what I mean to say is that between a certain length of time, the number of events will remain the same. Between another same period during some other time axis, right? If you draw a time axis, you draw two intervals. So number of events that occur in the first interval will be equal to the number of intervals that occur in the second interval. That's the meaning of stationary. The number of events that occur in any interval depends only on the length of that interval. If the length, it depends on the length of the interval, correct? So these two assumptions we need to keep in mind while defining the Poisson process. Then using the probability distribution function, we can determine the number of the average number of. Okay, so I just missed this page actually. That's why I was looking. So a Poisson process with rate lambda, right, satisfies. So lambda is the rate at which the events are happening on an expected level. A Poisson process with rate lambda satisfies, so n0 equal to 0. That means when time t equal to 0, no event occurs. The events have to be independent. The events have to be stationary, right? Which I have just defined. Where the probability of n events. So lambda is the rate, the probability of occurrence of n events in the interval from S to T is given by, now that's actually the Poisson formula, Poisson distribution, right? The probability of n events in interval S to T is given by probability. How many events we are looking for? N events we are looking for. The probability of occurrence of n events. So what is this n event? This is between the time interval t plus s, between time interval from S to T plus S, right? Number of n in the bracket T plus S determines the number of events which occur in time T plus S. Ns determines the number of events that occur in time S. So therefore, the difference will be n, and this probability is given by e to the power minus lambda t raised to the power n divided by n factor. This is Poisson distribution basically. Now, while modeling traffic on networks, we say traffic is random because the packets sent over the internet basically depend. So, it's a random process when once the packets are coming through, packets are passing through a router. So it is a random process because the number of packets that will pass through the router or even at any point of the internet will depend on the type of application also, the user activity. Right, basically depends on the applications being used to generate and receive these packets, as well as the user activity connected to these applications. Somebody, may play an online game or watching an action movie. So definitely the streaming, the number of the data rate required for streaming, that kind of stuff will be very high. So the traffic will be very high. But if somebody is, just trying to look at the images, so that traffic will be quite low as compared to the online game or action movie. So the number of events in interval s comma t is a random variable basically. That's the point. Number of events in interval s comma t is a random variable, which is a discrete random variable because we assume that the number of events are integer valued. Now with the probability density function, what is the probability density function of the number of events which occurred, and that is given by this probability, this equation number 1, which is the probability distribution of n events within time interval s comma s to t. Right now, using the probability distribution function, we can determine the average number of events that we can expect at a particular amount of time. So we can calculate. I took the example also. You can see my previous notes on Poisson process, where it is very clear. I have tried to explain with an example that how to calculate the probability for certain event, right? For a certain given event, or for a certain event, certain amount of actual number of n for small n, right? For that particular small n, we will have to calculate the probability of occurrence of those small n events. Now we are interested in calculating the expected value of this Poisson process at time t, right? So so therefore the time interval will be, if we are trying to find out the expected value at time t, so that means we are looking basically from time period, we are looking at a time period from 0 to t. So, and we also know that it is a discrete random variable. So expected value will be calculated using sigma rather than the integral. So what is the formula of the expected value? It is the number of events into the probability distribution function. So if let's say the number of events that occur are n equal to 0 to infinity, so we don't know, we want to actually calculate the expected value. So n may be from 0 to infinity. So n e to the power minus, so this is the formula for probability distribution function, which is this formula. So n into the probability distribution function will actually give the expected value. So if you try to solve it, we will solve this using one identity. We will take this identity straight away rather than going into the proof and all that. So this identity says that sigma n going from 0 to infinity y raised to the power n divided by n factorial, this is equal to e raised to the power y. Without altering the expression, we can change our summation. So we can change our summation here because the normal formula for the expected value is from 0 to infinity, but we can change this from n equal to 1 to infinity and to start n from 1, right? Because for n equal to 0, this is going to be 0. So we can just put here n equal to 1. So once it is n equal to 1, let's try to find out the expected value. So when n is equal to 1, sigma n equal to 1 to infinity, n e raised to the power minus lambda t raised to the power n divided by n factorial. So we can take out this e to the power minus lambda t, which is not dependent on n, right? So we can take it out of the sigma. And because we have changed the sigma from n equal to 1 to infinity, so there is 1 in the numerator, there is 1 n in the numerator, so we can so this will be cancelled out for this n factorial. So remaining will be n minus 1 factorial. So e to the power minus lambda t sigma n going from 1 to infinity lambda t raised to the power n divided by n minus 1 factorial. Let's try to look at this expected value once again. So do some variable substitution. Put k equal to n minus 1. So therefore n will be equal to k plus 1. So in that case, e raised to the, in the previous equation, e raised to the power minus lambda t is independent of n. So we are putting n equal to, we are putting k equal to n minus 1. So therefore n is equal to k plus 1. So in that case, when n is equal to 1, k will be equal to 0. So k is 0 to infinity. And we are putting lambda raised to the power t is n. So therefore k plus 1 will come here. And this is n minus 1. So k factorial will come. Right. So we take one lambda t out of this lambda t raised to the power k plus 1 out from here. So that means e raised to the power minus lambda t, and this is, now this is basically our identity, which I just mentioned you, that we will use this identity, and this value is equal to e raised to the power y. So in that case, this value will be equal to e raised to the power, so what is this? E raised to the power y. So that means y raised to the power, this will be e raised to the power lambda t, right? Because it is e raised to the power y. This is the expression for which the exponential is there. So y is equal to lambda t. So it has to be equal to e raised to the power y. So e raised to the power y is equal to lambda t. E raised to the power lambda t will cancel out with e raised to the power minus lambda t, and you are left with lambda t as the expected value of the Poisson process, and which is equal to rate into time. So as time is increasing, average number of events that you count increase linearly and continues to increase. So expected value is lambda dependent on the rate into time. As time is increasing, so the average number of events are also increasing linear. So this is the expected value of the Poisson process. Now there are a few more terms which we want to know. The first term is the inter-arrival times, because these are important terms once you try to model the model any real-time event using the Poisson process. So you must know these. You must have to, very correctly try to model a process. Now let's look at what are inter-arrival times. So I denote the inter-arrival times by Tn, T sub n. So the time elapsed between the n minus 1th event and the nth event is, we call this as the inter-arrival time, right? Where T1 is the time of the first event. T1 is the time of the first event, and Tn is basically the time between the n minus 1th event and the nth event. And the sequence of inter-arrival times is T1, T2, and so on. So let us say T1 is equal to, this is, let's say, the time axis, and it starts from 0. T1 is 5 seconds. That means the first event occurs after 5 seconds. Second, T2 is 20 seconds. So the second event will occur at 25 seconds. The third event occurs after 10 seconds of the second event. So that means it will be 35 seconds. So at 35, you will get the third event. So this is how we define the inter-arrival times. Inter-arrival times, let us take the case of network traffic also, number of customers entering into restaurant also. This is a random variable, because it depends on the application to application. It depends on user to activity. If we talk about the packet services, the traffic, the packet traffic, right? So therefore, we can say that inter-arrival times are random variables. We can understand the nature of the interval. We must understand the nature of these inter-arrival times. Nature means that we want to know what type of random variables are these. Are these Gaussian random variables? The probability distribution is uniform, or probability distribution is exponential. We will see that the probability distribution will come out to be exponential in the case of inter-arrival times. So let us start by looking at T1. That means from time 0 to T1, inter-arrival time. So what is the probability when T1 is, so small t is the present time, and T1, that means T1 is the time when the first event occurs, correct? So if T1 is greater than small t, that means the event has not occurred. as yet. Event occurs later. Probability of capital T1 greater than small t. T1 is the time at absolute value of the time where the first event will occur. So small t is a variable which represents time. And we say that the first event, the time where the first event will occur is greater than small t. That means no event has occurred. That means nt is equal to 0. That means n is equal to 0. Number of events in the, we know the probability distribution formula of a Poisson process. And this we can write it to be e raised to the power minus lambda t, because n is 0 here. In the original Poisson distribution formula in the first on the which is there on the first slide. So this represents, this is particularly for T1, the first inter-arrival time, right? So it comes out to be that the inter-arrival times is exponentially, T1 is exponentially distributed, correct? Let's look at time T2. It is because of the fact that when in general we want to find out why intuitively we can say that if we try to find out this probability will be given by the probability distribution time from t to infinity. This is the probability distribution function, and only value which can make the area under the curve to make the integral equal to e raised to the power minus lambda t. That's the intuitive justification only, because it's only the exponential distribution which will satisfy the calculation of the probability for inter-arrival time T1. So therefore, you can say that T1 is an exponential random variable. Let's look at T2. So T2 is the time between the first and the second event. Let us say that let's try to find out what is the probability. And this has to be kind of a conditional probability. Conditional probability in the sense that because T2 is the time between the first event and the second event, that means the first event has occurred. So once given that the first event has occurred at time T1, that means T1 is equal to S, let's say, given time T1, what is the probability that T2 is greater than T? That means the second event has not occurred. Second event has not occurred, but given that the first event has occurred. Probability T2 is greater than T given T1, which we say equal to, let's say it is S. So what is this conditional probability? This conditional probability can be written as 0 events have occurred, because T1 I say it is S. So what is the running time? It is S plus small t, right? So S plus small t. So actually 0 event has occurred. That's what T2 is greater than T. 0 events have occurred between what time? Between S and S plus T. S is the time where the first event has occurred. So S comma S plus T is the time interval after the first event, and we are progressing with the time. Still the event 2 has not occurred. So that means that's why we say that 0 event has occurred. That is why this T2 is greater than T. So we can say that this is equal to 0 events given T1 is equal to S. That the first event time V is equal to S. Actually, this condition has no relevance for that matter, because we are assuming that the events are independent. So once the events are independent, we can get away from this slash. That means the condition. So we can say probability of 0 events in S is equal to S plus T. Which is again, if it is 0 events, that means n is equal to 0. That means it is again a Gaussian. That means it is again exponential random variable. T2 is also exponential random variable. And in this way, we can look for the inter-arrival times. Therefore, we can say that inter-arrival times individually satisfy the exponential distribution. So where we can say that inter-arrival times of a Poisson process are exponentially distributed or memoryless. Why these are memoryless? Because we are assuming that the events are independent. So it doesn't require any memory to store whatever has occurred already. Since the events are independent, we are assuming the events to be independent. And we know that expected value of exponential distribution is given by 1 over lambda. What is this? This is the expected value of the inter-arrival times. Expected value of inter-arrival times is given by 1 over lambda. You can calculate with the usual formula of the expected value calculation. It will come out to be 1 over lambda. What is lambda? Lambda is the rate at which the events are occurring. Now, the wait time for an event n is, what is the wait time? Wait time is Sn. It is summation of Ti, right? Wait time is the total time at, let's say it is the 10th event. That means 9 events have occurred, right? Since Ti's are independent, so the wait time is the wait time for event n. So that will be actually equal to the summation of the inter-arrival times. That we know. That's what I have shown you with when I draw this time axis to explain the inter-arrival time. The wait time is the summation. This is very important actually. The wait time for event n, for events n, that means the nth event, is equal to the summation of the inter-arrival times. Since now, what are TIs? How TIs are distributed? TIs we know are distributed as, TIs are the exponential random variables. We know that whenever the exponential random variables are summed, right? When the exponential random variables are summed, the resultant distribution becomes gamma distribution. I will explain you after this, after the last slide, what is gamma distribution. Take it as it is at present. Since TIs are independent exponential random variables, will mean with mean 1 over lambda. We have already shown seen that it is the mean is 1 by lambda. So therefore, the Sn is gamma distributed, right? Sn is gamma distributed. So let us say that we want to know the wait time for event 3. The wait before event 3, event 1 and event 2 has already occurred. So wait time of event 3 is actually T1 plus T2 plus T3. Since TIs are independent with some mean, with the same mean, so Sn is gamma distributed, right? We can decompose a Poisson process also. Consider a Poisson process NT where each arrival is classified either as a type 1 event with probability P or type 2 with probability 1 minus certain. Let's say there's a Poisson process given and we are dividing the arrivals for type as type 1 and classifying the arrivals as type 1 and type 2 with certain probability P. That means we can decompose the Poisson process. How we can decompose? Let N1 and N2 represent the number of type 1 and type 2 events. What I mean to say is that why I'm doing this slide, because let's say Poisson process is there, which is NT, and there are 2 types of arrivals, and we classify one as type 1, other as type 2. With type 1 is with probability P, type 2 is, this is hypothetical. Type 2 is with certain probability 1 minus P. So type 1 is number of events are represented by N1T and type 2 events are N2T. So we can decompose NT as N1 plus N2T. N1 and N2T are both Poisson processes with rates. So their rates will be given by P lambda and 1 minus P lambda respectively. So this property can be generalized further also, right? So therefore, a Poisson process can be decomposed also as I have tried to explain here. If let's say NT is the Poisson process, we can decompose into N1T and N2T. N1T will be a Poisson process, N2T will be a Poisson process. So if N1T is with probability P, N2T is with probability 1 minus P. So N1T will have rate as P lambda and N2T will have rate as 1 minus P. Okay, so this is all about the mathematical perspective of the Poisson process, looking more into the mathematical modeling of the Poisson process. Because earlier I took an example and I just from the example try to explain you what is a Poisson distribution, what are Poisson points, right? But it is better to have a mathematical framework in your mind when you're trying to model certain real-time application with a random process. So now let us look at, because I said that the wait times are gamma distributed. So let me explain what is gamma distribution. I'm sorry for the font size to be very small. Check. Increase the. Okay. There was a command from the, if somebody can tell me how to increase the font size. I'm just forgetting that DOS prompt command from the keyboard. Anyway, I don't remember actually. What is the, anyway, so let me explain you what is gamma distribution. Gamma distribution is, this is the gamma function tau x, this is big tau x is defined as is an extension of the factorial function. Basically, gamma function is the extension of the factorial function, and it is given by Tn equal to n minus 1 factorial. Right. Specifically, if n belongs to this, then tau of n is equal to n minus 1 factorial. More generally, for any positive real number alpha, T alpha is defined as, this is the gamma function basically. T alpha is given by 0 to infinity x raised to the power alpha minus 1 e to the power minus x dx. And if you plot the gamma function on the x-axis, if you take alpha values, on the y-axis you take the gamma function, then you will see that this integral will be equal to 1 when alpha is equal to 1. When alpha here is 1, this integral value will go to 1. So that means note that for alpha equal to 1, we can write that this integral, that means the gamma function is 1. Right. So if we do some kind of change of variables, we can write the gamma distribution. So this is my gamma distribution. Tau alpha is equal to lambda raised to the power alpha, y raised to the power alpha minus 1, e raised to the power minus lambda y dy for alpha lambda greater than 0. Right. So this is my gamma distribution. And using integration, so we can further write, we can further do some important thing to note down here is that this particular formula is for the formula for the gamma distribution. Correct. And this is gamma function defined in maths. Now, these are some examples that are explained. So what is the, so earlier was the distribution. Now this is the density function of a random variable x having gamma distribution. So the density function is given by this formula. Right. When alpha equal to 1, important thing to note down here is that for alpha equal to 1, we obtain this. For any other value of alpha, this is the probability density function. Now what is to be, now a gamma distribution has to be expressed as G of alpha comma lambda. These are the two parameters of the gamma distribution, alpha and lambda. All right. So when alpha is 1, what is gamma distribution? This x is the random variable with gamma distribution, and it is expressed as alpha comma lambda. So when alpha is 1, this is my the general probability density function of a gamma random variable is this formula. All right. At your end, you can just zoom in into this formula and clearly see the formula. No problem with that. But my point here is that I am just giving you the gamma distribution, right, and gamma density function. Now for alpha equal to 1, we say that we can represent the random variable as gamma. In the bracket, it is 1 comma lambda because alpha is equal to 1. When alpha is equal to 1, it is gamma 1 comma lambda. And we say that this gamma distribution, this probability density function, turns out to be an exponential probability density function. So with we conclude gamma 1 comma lambda is exponential. More generally, if you sum n independent exponential random variables, then you will get a gamma distribution, gamma random variable. That's what we used in our previous slide, where I said that the wait time, since the inter-arrival times are exponentially distributed, and if you sum the inter-arrival times, which are exponentially distributed, the wait times in a Poisson process will be gamma distributed. So this is gamma distribution. That's what just I wanted to tell you what is gamma distribution with its probability density function. And I have also, this is formula for the probability distribution. So I have given you the formulas for the probability distribution function, the probability density function. There are two factors which determine the shape of the gamma distribution. One is alpha comma lambda. Alpha has to be greater than 0, lambda has to be greater than 0. Right. So this is my, so when alpha is equal to 1 for gamma, that means gamma 1 comma lambda, it turns out to be an exponential distribution, exponential density function. So if you sum all these, you will turn out to be a gamma random variable. I actually now, if any questions are there, you can ask the questions. Because more or less, the chapter number 2 and chapter number 5 of your syllabus for the evaluation 2 are almost over. If something will be left, I will cover that in the lecture, in the next one lecture which is remaining. Otherwise, I have tried to explain each and every point in detail, which is required to be done in your syllabus. Just a minute, let me just take this call from office. Hello, Vinod? हाँ, ओके, मेरी क्लास चल रही है, ठीक है, ओके ओके ओके, all right. So if any questions you have, you can ask the questions. So these are various plots for various values of alpha equal to 1, equal to 2, equal to 3. The bold line is alpha equal to 1. This is alpha equal to 2. This is alpha equal to 3. Gamma distribution. Any questions, please? When you will come offline, right? In those days, we will be doing one of the most important chapters of this course, actually, which is information theory, right? That is one of my favorite topics also, which actually deals with, giving a metric. First of all, we will start with what is information, what is, how you can mathematically represent information, how you can measure information, because this all was actually given by one of the very famous scientists, Claude Shannon, who is actually the father of information theory. All your, you measure your data rates like 10 Mbps, 20 Mbps, 1 Gbps. When you try to, represent the rates in terms of BPS or Gbps or Mbps, that means you're trying to measure the information. And this was possible because of Claude Shannon, that the information content, which is the content, so if I'm speaking, I'm generating some content. I am the source of information. It can be an audio source, it can be a video source, any other source, any book. So that is the information source. But how much information is present in the emission by the source, that can be measured. that can be analytically measured. That was the power of the theorems given by Claude Shannon. He wrote one very landmark paper in 1948. To date also, that paper is considered to be the what should I say, the the best paper for computer science, for computer engineering, electronics, and communication engineering, which actually defines the information and then gives a measure to the information, and further it goes on and on to give results. Then it talks about the compression, all your compression algorithms, whether it is the video compression or audio compression or the text compression, are fundamentally based on that theory. Then he gave one more theorem, which is the channel coding theorem, that how you can, when you're transmitting information, maybe on internet, maybe through any media, whether it's wireless, wired, or any media, how you can mitigate, how you can overcome the noise. So he gave theorem also, and he gave ideas how to get rid of noise. So he gave actually two theorems. One is source coding theorem, which is related to the compression. The other is the channel coding theorem, which is, so in compression, you actually compress the signal. For channel coding, for mitigating the noise, you actually expand the signal. At some point you compress the signal, at some point you expand the signal, add more bits, which are known as the parity bits. And at some point you are compressing them. So that's a very interesting theory we will study when you will come out. Anyway, thank you very much for joining the class. Thank you.